Hey everybody, welcome back to Illiterate Book Club. I am Matt.
I'm John.
And so this is going to be our kind of review and discussion of Chapter 5 of The Mandalorian.
And a little bit of Chapter 4. We didn't do a Chapter 4 one.
Yeah, so just a little bit kind of a touch on the Chapter 4. So I really liked Chapter 4.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It had,
I feel like it really kind of started to hit its...
classical sort of storyline, you know.
Very... I don't feel like... I heard a lot of critiques saying that episode was a filler, and I don't really feel like it was. I feel like it developed the characters, I introduced you to some new characters, and I don't know, kind of set the pace of, hey, what can you expect of this show to a certain degree when it's not all...
Yeah, I mean, as a standalone episode, it had like the classic feel of a Western, you know, kind of based on Samurai 7 type of storyline, which is Magnificent 7 kind of storyline, you know, all that kind of stuff.
For sure, and I think it kind of added to his mystique and, you know, kind of
a
what
little
he
bit.
wanted.
It showed you a character that he could be friends with, that, you know, is within the same world, but isn't attached to the same sort of things. Like in this episode 5, chapter 5, you met other bounty hunters or people wrapped up in that world who are going to be after him.
Yeah,
and so it seems like he can't really have friends that are bounty hunters right now.
Kind of going along that, I heard a lot of criticism about this episode. I think my expectations were so low that I didn't hate it. It was just okay.
Not a lot happened.
Right.
I mean, he ended up basically in the same place he began.
Right. Yeah, there wasn't much.
So, I mean...
They had like a little snippet. This is all spoiler if you hadn't gathered.
Go see it if you haven't seen it.
Right. If... You know, there was a little snippet at the end that kind of maybe could set up anything, but you don't know what that was.
It was a teaser of a teaser, really. You know, I don't really know exactly who that was or what that was going to be. At first, I thought it was going to be like a reveal that he had like gone up to her and she was actually still alive. Or something like that.
Well, I think apparently it's going to be somebody still. She might be still alive.
I mean, she might still be alive, but I thought it was going to be like him like letting her go or be like one of those kind of moments where it like showed what really happened.
Right. I'm interested to find out who this character is going to be.
As a story, it didn't do anything.
No, it didn't. It didn't move anything along, and I think that's kind of the big fear at this point. Is
it showed you exactly what you already knew, which was people are out to get him.
Right. Nothing really changed.
Can't escape anything.
I thought that one character was fairly annoying. The mechanic character.
I mean, she wasn't really. I mean, it's kind of like the guy on the first episode. You know,
but at least he was. Oh, well, I didn't. I liked him. I thought
he's funny and quirky, but I'm saying it's the same sort of role. Right?
I kind of liken her more to the guy that was like the blue dude in the very beginning, like the, you know, like the. No, but he was just there for a second. You know what I mean?
Right. Where she was. Well, but at the same time, this is like the second episode where they just found a way to like pawn off the kid, while the Mandalorian does something else.
Right. That's true.
And so like that's part of it too. Like in the second episode where he uses the Force, you know, it was interesting because you put the kid in danger and then he had to react to it.
Right, and I'm wondering why they haven't doubled down on that at all.
Right, you know, I would figure they would, I mean, maybe they don't want to, like, have him using Force powers
right away,
you know, too much too early, and I understand that, but still, like, having the kid put into stressful situations and forcing either Mandalorian to have to work extra to protect him, or having him like show other forms of resourcefulness.
Yeah, I mean it kind of did at the end slightly, but I mean,
but not really.
Yeah, there was not much stakes going on, and
they didn't really inform you much more about the world in general. Like you only learned a couple characters' names, but you know, other than that, it still just reiterated that you know he's now notorious.
Yeah,
and people are going to be after him.
Which we already knew. That was at the very end of the last episode, or you know, chapter 4.
Yeah, we had somebody come and try to kill the kid there.
Right, and that, I guess that comes to the crux of the matter. It's like we're 5 episodes in. There's only 8. They're about 30 to 40 minutes long. Yeah, it's like we need to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, there hasn't been really the reemergence of if the character who hired him on the Empire, the Imperial guy, if he's like the main villain, he hasn't reemerged. If there's some other main villain, no sign yet. So like what I've kind of expressed my concern with this is that this whole season just feels like it might end up being a setup
Yeah, and I really hope
for
that's
the
not
next
the case.
season. I mean, it's I don't mind setting up for things, but it's a whole season, right? You're supposed to tell a whole story right now.
It needs to have an overall character, or not character, but just story arc,
right?
For this particular season, and then at the end you kind of leave some things open for the next season. Yeah. But the main plot line of this season needs to be wrapped up, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And one even at least coalesced more than it has. Even we've compared this to like Firefly and some of the tones that it's setting, and even some of the plot lines that it's using.
Yeah.
And even in Firefly, you didn't know a lot about the world, but you at least saw the emergence of the people hunting after River. And if you're familiar with Firefly, if you're not, you need to go watch that right now.
Yeah, it's excellent.
But anyway, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, you know that in that storyline, you at least had up to this point, in the relative story, you at least saw that there was this, sort of encroaching force, something coming, like looming over the characters.
Yeah.
And here you don't really have that. You just have him sort of wandering around trying to find, we don't really know what he's trying to find. Like, there's no way out of his position.
Yeah.
What he's just going to keep on the run until the kid grows up and can defend for himself.
Yeah, I don't really understand. That's what I'm saying. There needed to be some kind of, like, I heard somebody saying, like,
proactiveness.
Does he not have any friends? Like, what about all those other Mandalorians?
Or even just like some kind of indication that he's going to be able to like face off against someone and end his pursuit, right?
Right, because there's not been a thing of like resolution.
Exactly. There's nothing that can like say, hey, this will be a finale to his current problem.
Right. This is what I need to do in order to
save this kid or get him out of trouble or finally get him away from everything. Like, we don't even know the full nature of like how people are tracking him.
Right, I guess
none of this.
Yeah,
I don't without dogging on it too much.
I felt like, look, this was an off episode. That's for sure. I mean, everything can have an off episode.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate that you have that. Like, like I've heard people talk about, like, in a long form show that's like a 22 episode season. You're expected to have 2 or 3 or 4 even, just filler episodes. But this, where you have 8 30-minute slots,
needs to be tight.
You need to be concise and tight. And, hey, if it's just 1 out of the 8 that I'm fairly disappointed in and everything else is, pretty good to great, then that's not going to be a bad thing.
Right.
And maybe there's going to be some stuff here that's going to tie in later, but it's hard to see that from everything with the loose end. Besides that snippet at the very end, which that could have been done any time.
That's the thing for all the people that are involved with this show now. I mean, this last episode, or the episode 4, was Bryce Dallas Howard,
and that's going to come back to it. This was Dave Filoni again.
Yeah, and so like you have these great directors and great actors and people who are well practiced in storytelling.
Yeah, but
this still feels really conceptual. This doesn't feel like they've developed the actual story.
Right. So the big thing is Dave Filoni, like I was telling you before, he directed the first episode, and he's kind of been helping showrun. He knows a lot about the lore of Star Wars, but these are his first live action directions, and I feel like and I feel like that shows it shows that he's mostly done animated up to this point.
Sure, but at the same time, like, being a director, like, there's script writing, there's still other aspects of storytelling.
100%.
The director isn't,
but he wrote it too.
Well, I mean, he wrote it too. That's fine, but that's what I'm saying is, like, this is supposed to be a collaborative process, right? There's other people involved.
Yeah.
This should be further along.
For sure, and I think that's something, too, that's on Jon Favreau, as he is the showrunner, so...
And I'm fine with people taking risks on new visions and new people taking first steps, and that's fine. I don't have any problem with, having someone learn the ropes as they go.
Right.
But just like with any other of these kind of collaborations we've seen in other kind of projects, there should be enough of a vision guiding already that, because the Disney should know their whole bread and butter is storytelling.
That's for sure.
I mean, so when you don't have a story already, this is what happens. You end up with this sort of aimless wandering. And again, they still have another 3 episodes.
They have 3 episodes. I do think that
it could get pulled together.
I do think in the first 4 episodes they set a solid foundation, but these later half, which you were hoping the 5th episode up to the 8th would really get into the crux of it. But maybe maybe 6, 7, 8 will blow us away.
And the only thing that worries me about this is that we're with these kind of fluff areas that we've seen.
Yeah.
That's fine if you have this really interesting world that you're delving further into, but this is really generic sci-fi world stuff.
Yeah,
like,
so
other than, like, this episode was Tatooine. Other than it being on Tatooine, there's nothing, like, really significant about Star Wars in this episode.
Well,
there's nothing that's really telling you more about the world.
Right. And honestly, I feel like this episode, going back to Tatooine, was kind of a mistake. You know what I mean? It's like we've treaded that water so much within the prequels, the regular trilogy. You know what I mean?
Well, and it didn't reveal anything great about it. I mean, it's a desert planet. Like 10 minutes of the episode was them riding bikes in a desert. That's nothing exciting.
No, nothing at all. And it just I liked the last episode where they're building out the world about the other people.
You're on a place that you've never been to before, seeing people and things that you haven't quite seen
and they
before.
have a different kind of daily life. But I don't know. This one kind of dropped the ball for us. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments below. Let us know. Yeah, be sure to like and subscribe. We appreciate everybody that's been watching so far.
Yeah.
And
we'll catch you later.
See ya.